So I found this story, and being a vegetarian, it appealed to me, and I hope it'll appeal to you. And it was called Donkey Cabbage. So I read this, and it has everything that a fairy story should have. It's got a huntsman, it's got a beautiful girl, it's got a witch or two, it's got a castle, it's got a mountain of jewels, it's got giants, I mean, everything you could ask for. But it also, in my version at least, it had cabbages, and they were pointed cabbages, and they were rounded cabbages, and I thought, this doesn't work. Cabbages aren't pointed, they're just round. And then I thought to myself, I think it's lettuce. And I looked again at another edition, and sure enough, the story is just called Salad. And so I went and looked, and there you have it, pointed lettuce and round lettuce. And this is going to be very important in the story, so I should better get on with it. So once upon a time, there was a huntsman, a handsome young man, walking through the forest to his hive, playing on a piece of grass. You know how you can blow on grass and make a sort of whistly sound? He did it much better than I did. He was walking through in a cheerful mood, and he met a rather old lady walking towards him, who was not obviously in a good mood. She was tired and she was hungry, and she said to him, "Young man, you seem in a very good mood today, but I am so hungry. Is there any chance you might have a few pence for me?" "Why, of course," he said. "Here, have what I've got." And he gave her whatever he had. And she walked on and he walked on, and then as he walked, she turned and she said, "Young man, wait. You've been kind to me, and I'll give you a gift. If you go further on, you will find 9 birds fighting over a blue cloth. Take your gun and shoot into the middle of those birds, and one will fall down dead. Go and take the cloth. It's a magic cloak, and if you ask it to take you somewhere, you'll get there. But also, pick up the bird that will fall, open it up, cut it into pieces, take out its heart, and swallow it." It's a bit gross. And you will find next day, under your pillow, a gold coin. And the next day, you will find a gold coin. "Well," he said, "well, thank you very much," but he didn't really believe her. Well, who would? And she went one way and he went other, and there they were, those birds, 9 of them, big black birds fighting away, and he, pow, set off his gun, one fell down, and there was a blue cloak. So he put it around his shoulders, and he got the bird, and he cut it open, because he had his knife with him, he was a hunter, took out the heart, swallowed it down. Next morning, and he didn't do much hunting that day. Well, you wouldn't, would you? He went home and thought about it all. Went to bed, next morning, under his pillow, gold coin. Next day, gold coin. Next day, gold coin. He had enough gold coins in a week than he'd ever had in his life. Well, he thought, I'm not going to stay here and just get gold coins. What can I spend them on here? I'll go out into the world and find my fortune. So he gave his parents a few of the gold coins to keep them going, put the rest in his pocket, and off he went. And he came to a great forest. And through the forest he walked until he came to the very edge, and there was a beautiful field full of wild flowers. It was just heavenly. And there was a castle. And looking down from the windows of the castle, he saw 2 people who were looking at him. One was a witchy type of woman, and she was a witch. And then the other was a beautiful young maiden, her daughter. Well, he thought, that castle looks as if it might have people in it, and I can sit here with them. I wonder if they would give me some food I could pay them. So he banged on the door, and the maid opened the door, and she said, "Do come in, what can we do? I am very hungry, I've been walking for miles, and of course come in, my mistress and her daughter, I'm sure, would look after you." So they came down, and they took him up, and they had a great meal that night, and he went to bed, and the witch turned to her daughter and said, "He has 2 things that I want." "Oh, mother," said the girl, "come on." "No," he said, he's got a cloak. Did you see the cloak?" "Yes, I saw the cloak." "Well, the cloak is magic, and it will take you wherever you want to go, and I want that cloak. And the second thing he's got gold coins under his pillow every morning." "Wow," said the girl, "how has he got that?" "Because he swallowed a bird's heart." "Oh, well, how are we going to do?" "Just leave it to me," said Mother. So the next morning, when the young man came down, the girl came to him and said, "My mother's prepared you a special drink." And she poured it out, and he swallowed it down. He was terribly sick. Gross story. He was terribly sick, and out came the bird's heart. So he went off to bed. He felt so dreadful, and the young girl, told by her mother what to do, took up the heart, washed it under the tap very thoroughly, and swallowed it down. I tell you, fairy stories. And there she was, next morning, gold coin. But poor boy, nothing under his pillow. Well, he just sort of thought, well, maybe I just grew out of it or something. He didn't know that there were gold coins under her pillow every morning. But the two young people got on very well. And very shortly he thought to himself, she is the one for me. She is definitely the one for me. And then the witch said to the girl, "Now tonight we're going to get that blue cloak." "Oh, Mother," said the girl, "Mother, really, we've got all the money. Let's leave him the cloak." "No, I want the cloak and I will have it." "This is what you're to do. And if you don't, it'll be the worst for you." Now the girl knew what the worst meant, so she did what she was told. She went to the young man and she said, "Do you see that mountain over there?" "Yes," he said. "How high it is and how it glows. What is the name of the mountain?" "It's Mount Garnet," she said, "and it's full of magic and it has beautiful jewels." "Ooh," he said. "But no one can get there," she said. "It's so high that no one can climb it." "Ha! Well, I've got just the thing for you. Of course we can get there. Come and sit close to me." But she wanted anyway, so she came close. And he put his cloak around her and said, "Mount Garnet," and they were there. And he sat down and he said, "Well, here we are. Look at it." Oh. And the witch, of course, had put a spell on him to go to sleep, and he did, his head in her lap. And as soon as he was asleep, the young girl let his head go onto the ground, very gently. And then she picked up as much of the garnets and as much of the jewels as she could. She had big pockets and she had bags and she had all sorts of things. Put the cloak around her and back home she went. But when he woke up, he was horrified to realise how evil people could be. How he had been let down right and left by these people. And he so wanted that beautiful young maiden, but she left him. What was he to do? And he just sat there and was very sorry for himself. And as he sat there, he heard coming across great big footsteps, much bigger than I can make, sort of boom, boom, boom sort of footsteps. And he thought, "Oh, that sounds like a giant to me. I'll pretend to be asleep." So like a possum, he lay there, fast asleep. And the giants came up, and one of them put his foot on him and said, "What's this worm doing on my mountain?" And the other said, "Well, just kill him, just squash him." And the other said, no, just leave him be. He'll die here anyway, there's no food. He doesn't know that all he's got to do is to go to the top of the mountain and one of the clouds will pick him up. He doesn't know that, he'll just die. And they turned around and went away. Well, of course, he woke up. Well, he opened his eyes. And he went up to the top of the mountain and he stood on the very, very tippy top of the mountain, and the clouds kept sort of bumping into the top and going off and bumping in and going off, and one of them bumped in and he found himself lying on the cloud. And the cloud took him all over the place, here and there, and he could see down on the earth. It was a wonderful time he was having on that cloud, until finally it swooped down and deposited him in a garden. It had walls all around the garden. It was a vegetable garden, and he was between the onions and the lettuces. Oh, he thought, I wish there were some fruit trees. I'm so hungry. But still, it's better than nothing. The cloud went away. So he looked around and he thought, that looks like a very interesting lettuce. So he took a bit and he ate it up. It was a pointy sort of lettuce, pointed ends. So he ate it up and he ate 2 or 3 slices, 2 or 3 leaves of it, and then suddenly he felt himself feeling very peculiar. His skin became sort of fur, and his hands became hooves, and his ears became tall, and he was a donkey. Oh, he thought, no, what am I going to do? Well, he stumbled around for a bit, and then he decided he'd eat some of the other lettuces. Of course, lettuces tasted much better now that he was a donkey. So he ate some. And the strange thing he was himself again. Ha, he thought, now I can have my revenge. So he picked a lettuce, he picked a sharp, pointy one, and he picked a round one. He put them in his knapsack, which he had still on his back. He climbed the wall of the garden, and he made his way back to the witch's castle. Didn't take him too long, and when he got there, he covered his face with mud and dirt, so nobody would have recognised him. Put bits of stuff in his hair, and he looked a bit wild and woolly. And he banged on the door, and the maid came, and he said, yes, what can I do for you? Oh, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten for days. Do you think I could have something to eat? Well, yes, she said, come in, come in. And the witch came down and said, yes, young man, what can we do? Oh, he said, I'm a messenger from the king. And the king sent me out to find the most delicious lettuces in the world. And I found them. But I don't know that I'll get them back in time because, it's been a few days. Oh, said the witch, I love lettuce. Well, may I see? And so he took out the pointy lettuce. And he said, do have some, make a salad. So she made a salad. And she couldn't resist having a bit here, a bit there, and a bit there, and the ears began to grow, and she started galloping around outside in the courtyard. Ha ha, he thought. And then the maid came in, and he said, would you like some of the salad? Now, the maid had a habit of trying things before she served it, so she said, yes. She ate a bit, and she ate a bit more, and there she was too, galloping around, and he laughed to himself. And then he took the salad up to the girl, the beautiful girl, and he said, would you like some salad? And she did. And there she was too, 3 of them, 3 donkeys, larking about in the courtyard. Ah, 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 now I've got you. So he washed his face, cleaned himself up, went out, he said, look, you see who I am? Yeah, they didn't know quite what to do. So he took a rope, and he tied each donkey to the rope so he had them in a 3. And this is again where it gets strange. Why this bit? He goes to the miller, and he says to the miller, I want you to look after these donkeys. They've behaved very badly for me, and I want them to be punished. Well, said the miller, well, what do you want me to do? Well, that old one there, who's the worst, I want you to beat her 3 times a day and feed her once. Very well, said the miller. And the middle one, well, just beat her once a day and feed her 3 times. Very well. And the younger one, the pretty little one, well, just feed her 3 times. He didn't really want her to be beaten. And then he left, went back to the castle, put his feet up. 2 days passed, and the miller came up. I'm afraid I've got bad news. He said, that old one didn't last a bit. She's just gone. She's dead as a doornail. But the other 2, they're just miserable. I can't do a thing with them. Oh, well, I expect they've suffered enough, he said. Bring them back up here. So he brought them up. And of course, what did he do? Why, he gave them some of the brown lettuce. And being donkeys, they loved it. Oh, they ate it up like anything. And they became themselves again. And the young girl just went to him and fell on her knees and said, oh, please forgive me for everything I did. It was my mother who made me do it. He said, yes, I can understand that. And she said, I'll even take that drink and give you... No, he said, no need for that. He said, no need for that. We don't need to have that. Bird's heart passed again. I would like to marry you. You are so beautiful, and I know that you're not going to be a witch like her. No, she said, I never will behave like her. And so they were married. And there you are, the strangest vegetarian